What's happening, YouTube? Yep, this is John, nerding out with cars, doing another video already. But yeah, I received a few new cards in the mail. That's going to be slowing up here pretty soon because next week I have to go back to California to go back to work. But these three really cool cards have all showed up. So I figure I'll get this pickup video out there, and it's going to be pretty diverse, even though it's only a few cards. So the first one that I want to show was actually inspired by a purchase I made last year from a guy that, ironically enough, just dropped a video for the first time in a couple months. Old Sarge Collects. And I had bought this card from him because I was watching one of his videos. He was talking about cards that he's going to be putting up for sale. And it's this old Allen & Ginter tobacco card, I believe 1886, maybe 1887. And it's a part of the flag series for St. Louis. And what I think is really, really cool about this card, yeah, it's meant to be the flag. But if you look under there, you got the Eads Bridge. And it's gone by a few names historically. It's been called the Steel Bridge. It's been called the St. Louis Bridge, many years ago. But commonly today, if you go to the St. Louis area, it's called the Eads Bridge. Super cool non-sports card. And that's kind of what led me to, I found out about, this revenue cutter service card. Picked that up too. So I was reading a book, during this last deployment, because I had picked it up from the bookstore before I left, and it's called Spanning the Gilded Age. And it's one of the best books I've ever read, but it talks about, where the country was at the time in the late 1860s, into the 1870s and so forth. But it really gets into the history of the Eads Bridge, its construction, what led up to it, all the trials and tribulations that they had while making it or building it, and then, up through kind of today. And I absolutely love the book, right? I know like Pittsburgh is known as like the, city of bridges or something of the sort. But, do you have a favorite bridge? I do. It's the Eads Bridge. And yeah, its history is amazing and whatnot. But, like before I joined the Coast Guard, my parents, they live on the Illinois side of the river. Well, my house is also on the wrong side of the river. So, like going into St. Louis, going, for like Cardinals games and whatnot, what we would do is a lot of times we go park at the Casino Queen in East St. Louis. And I'm like, oh my God, East St. Louis, whatever. But we had Metrolink over to the ballpark. And I remember 2004, 2005, the Cardinals were amazing those 2 years, right? In 2004, they went over 100 games on their way to losing the World Series. And then 2005 was the last year of the old Busch Stadium, or Busch 2. And to get on the Metrolink, those things were packed, absolutely packed. So what I would end up doing a lot of times, I'd park at the Casino Queen, and if it was just a nightmare to get on the Metrolink, I would just walk across the Eads Bridge and walk to the ballpark, You fast forward later on in my life, and, like I said, I'm in the Coast Guard, and the 7 greatest years of my career was working on the Mississippi River. I was stationed on the Coast Guard Cutter Waiconda out of Dubuque, Iowa. Absolutely love that tour, working on the river. And so the river has a lot of meaning to me. It's tremendous for our economy. It's tremendous to our history. And 2011, The cutter went through a dockside in St. Louis, so I got to sail underneath the Eads Bridge in a professional capacity. 2013 to 17 or 16, or 2012 to 16, sorry. I was stationed in St. Louis, and we have a cutter here as well, the Coast Guard Cutter Cheyenne, and I got to go work on there a few times. Going north up to the Missouri River, and up north on the Mississippi. So getting to go underneath the Eads Bridge there, and it's just I love the Eads Bridge. It's especially like if you were to read this book, it's just like there's a ton of history behind it, good, bad, but the design, they use steel, predominantly steel, which was a not common at that time, but and then like I collect Cardinal scorecards from when Mike Perez started designing them, doing the artwork. You're like, man, that's pretty cool. It's like, yeah, that's like Scott at Reindeer Studios cool, you know what I mean? And but yeah, since 2003 he's been doing the artwork, and this is the scorecard from last year. And what I thought was really cool is it was like an ode to the city. Yeah, it's the arch that everybody knows about, but what really stuck out to me was you had the Eads Bridge right there, and I thought that was just really, really cool touch. Like, in my opinion, from 2003 to even this year's, which I don't have yet, I'll get that. This is my favorite design, and there's many amazing ones. So anyway, you're like, oh, well, why is this jackwagon talking about bridges and stuff? Yeah, you got that car from Old Stars Collects a year ago or so. But I had been looking up, after reading that book, cards that had the Eads Bridge on it, and I found this 1890 Honest Long Cut tobacco card of the, on here it calls it the Mississippi Bridge, St. Louis, Missouri. Like I said, it's had some names. But when you consider that the bridge officially opened July 4th, 1874, and this card came out in 1890, holy cow. That's pretty amazing. It's got the steamship right there, horses and things like that there on the levee. Absolutely, really, really cool card. I was stoked to find this, and super inexpensive. I got it for like $15 or something. Amazing stuff. And like I said, I'm glad I read the book. Great book, and love the bridge, love the river. So, yeah, really cool stuff. Like, there's so many great cards out there from the turn of the century, 1800s and 1900s and whatnot. Like, I mean, these are amazing. Yeah, they're not sports cards, but holy cow. Another really, really cool pickup is, like, you've heard me talk about, with my Musial collection, I still needed the 53 Bowman. Bam, nailed it. And look at that. It's got a lot of character to it. Thanks to Stu for that description. But yeah, look at those rounded corners. It's got creases, which might be kind of hard to tell based off my lighting and whatnot. And it's got some marks there on the front. Back is clean. Like I said, I can read all the cool stuff that Bowman had to say about Musial. I read that Card Wars book, and it talks about the 53 set from Bowman. Kind of really drove them down because of how much money they poured into this set. But it's like, this set is great, but in some cases it does age kind of poorly. Like a lot of the imperfections, or whatever you want to call it, the character really shows up on these cards. And I landed this Musial at a 1. Now, I was thinking about this, like with my last, that video I had about the condition and whatnot. And I got all these Musials in a 1. My 49 Bowman, I'm pretty sure, will come back as a 1 as well. And it's like, are they grading it a 1? Or do they know that Stan the Man is number 1? Mysteries of the Universe. Great card. And guess what? I got this for 50 bucks. 50 bucks. You know, I've been looking for these cards for a while and easily over $100. You know, it helped my case that there was another 1.5 or something like that that looked better. That was up for auction at the same time. You know, and then like I said, other people that, you know, can't or won't or whatever you want to call it, appreciate it like I do. Man, shoot, that's great. Because I finally got the 53 Bowman. So that means I have Musial's flagship run complete, with the exception of the Leaf card. And yes, I do want that, but it's a very expensive card. So, now, the last card that I had come in, I actually didn't know about this until last week. And I was watching a video from Brent Richards and Baseball Cards, and he was showing these ballpark cards. This Ballpark Evolution came out in 2019. But yeah, it's got, you know, Sportsman's Park, later renamed Busch Stadium, and then the current Busch Stadium. Yeah, it's really kind of funny because when Anheuser-Busch bought the Cardinals back in the 50s, like there was legitimate worry that the Cardinals were going to move, right? Eventually the Browns did move. But the brewery came in, saved the team from moving, and the owner, or yeah, Augie Busch wanted to rename the ballpark Budweiser Stadium, and Major League Baseball wouldn't let him do it, so he named it after his family, Busch, right? So that's where we get Busch Stadium. And after that, they created Busch Beer, so it ended up being an advertisement anyway. But yeah, that's where Sportsman's Park, which many of us know it as, was actually renamed Busch Stadium prior to them moving into Busch 2, and now we got Busch 3. Yeah, but I love these stadium cards, you know, like there's one from the 94 score. Yeah, you know, my time, right? That's Busch 2 right there. I've had this card for a while. That's great. And then what I've been doing in more recent days, and I'll show these again at some point, but you know, these stadium cards and these newer sets, and they've been doing it for a little bit now. Also like mascots, those cards are really kind of fun. But taking pictures and getting them printed off at, you know, the baseball card size and pairing it with a stadium card. You know, it's like, here's a game where I went in Tampa. Yeah, my younger daughter, she was not happy about taking that picture. Whatever. You know, here, like, you know, before the roof, you know, came off. Excuse me. You know, they had the Ray tank. I mean, that thing was super cool. The Trop gets a lot of hate, but man, I had tons of fun there when we went. And that's my younger daughter at the Ray tank. So of course, you know, St. Louis, you know, my parents and I, with my wife, got a picture with Fred Bird. I absolutely love that picture. Paired it with a baseball card. Back in 2013, I re-enlisted at the Musial statue, and it's cool because they made a Musial statue card. You know, used to be a thing in St. Louis. You know, meet me at the Musial statue, and where its placement is now at Busch 3 is very different than Busch 2. There's not a lot of space around it, but absolutely love that statue. Yeah, like I said, really cool way to you know, have fun with inexpensive cards. You know, this one, you know, I'm a baller, so I got the gold version, right? It's numbered out of 150 because it was super cheap. It's just like, yeah, why not? But yeah, thanks Brent for showing those cards. And I know you were talking about in your video, you know, memories and connections with the you know, the imagery and the time frame with the cards. But yeah, I didn't know this one existed. This is really cool. I got some stadium giveaway, you know, replica stadiums and things like that I eventually want to get out. But yeah, picked this up. You know, so really cool stuff. You know, I hope you like my long-winded stories, but the, you know, like I said, just a few cards. You know, it's 1890 tobacco card of the St. Louis Bridge or Eads Bridge. Huge pickup, 53 Bowman. Stan the Man. And this really, really cool and fun ballpark card of ballparks in St. Louis. I'm just saying, Scott, a St. Louis Ballparks t-shirt, that'd be kind of cool. You know, you already got a Colorado one up. Just saying. Just saying. I'd buy it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and y'all have a good one.